Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Oh my gosh, has it been such a long time since I filmed a video? Like, it literally feels forever because it has been forever. So I'm gonna get straight into it. This is a highly requested video from those of you who watched my video about my ME, Lyme and chronic UTI condition, which I filmed so long ago in 2017. It's now 2021, and a lot of people wanted to know how I was doing and like what treatments I did and like what the updates were on my life. So here you go. Also, don't mind the background, it's kind of messy. This is like a real video. It's just me sitting down and having a little chat with you. So where do I start? So I filmed that video back in August 2017. It's so weird because when I filmed that video, I was so over dating. I was like just so over like everything. I was in a really bad place. And the weird thing is that I then met my current partner. I feel that sometimes in life, depending on what you believe in, sometimes when you hit rock bottom, it's almost like you let go of like all expectations, you give yourself a break, and you've kind of let go of that constant, like, I don't know, like riding that train of like negativity, as they say. I don't know, I don't quite like putting it that way, but anyway, I think I was just done with everything, and yeah, so I met my current partner 2 weeks after I filmed that video, and it was kind of weird. Like I can do a separate video on our story on how we met. We actually met on a dating app, and now like 4 years on, we're still together. He moved to Vancouver like 6 months after we met. I actually moved back to Milton Keynes from London 3 weeks after we met. This is like a whole separate video, like, I'm sure, but just like in a nutshell, the reason that this relates to my illness is that after we met, I knew, he told me like on the third date that he was moving to Vancouver, and at the time, I think, because I had no idea, like, is this just going to be a casual thing, or like, I don't think like either of us realized how serious it was going to get. I was kind of like, oh, okay, but then like as things went on and I realized that oh, I did actually like really like this guy, and he was moving to Vancouver, I was a bit like, with my health, like what, like how will we make this work? But we did, and it actually, that year, like I went back and forth to Vancouver, I think it was 5 times, and it was one of the most like amazing times of my life, really, because I got to experience so much. Vancouver's just like an amazing place, by the way, but I didn't think that my health conditions would allow me to do like all that traveling. So let's rewind a little bit. So my ME at that point was really bad, but then during those kind of 6 months between 2017 and it turning 2018, I started to get a little bit better because I to be honest, I think it's because I just stopped doing everything. I had given up trying to get into the music industry and working my butt off, constantly like doing like crazy like late night hours, never getting any sleep, like all that kind of stuff. I think that like super helped, and then I think at that time, right, okay, so for my chronic UTI condition I had started long-term antibiotics. So this is quite a controversial thing. I don't know why it's controversial, like it really should not be. So with my chronic UTI condition, I started long-term antibiotics, which was not on the NHS at the time. I had to go privately for it. They're really high dose long-term antibiotics. Now, my opinion on this protocol is it really works for some people, and like it can just take 6 months to a year and they're feeling like a lot better. For those of us who've had the chronic UTI condition for a really long time, so bear in mind I'd had it since I was 16 years old and I was now 32 at that point. 31. Anyway, so for me, I had to trial and error like so many different antibiotics because of the side effects that I was getting. I was on these long-term antibiotics between 2016, sorry, I'd already started them in 2016, but I'd changed to ones that were actually really working for me in 2017. So the antibiotics that really worked for me, and it will be different for everyone, so there's no point in me telling you which one really worked for me. It would depend on the bacteria that is your most dominant. It was amazing in that it gave me a good 6 months, I would say, a good 6 months of, while I was on them, of almost having like a normal life and like a normal sex life. But I would still get flares, but then I could go back to my doctor who was dealing with this. We would change around like the dosages and I would be okay. Now the only issue is that the side effects that I was getting from these antibiotics were getting worse and worse and worse. I ended up getting like systemic candida, which was just horrendous. And the really awful thing that happened is that I started to get this like chronic nausea. And at the time, I stopped taking those antibiotics in 2018. So I'd been on them I'd been on long-term antibiotics for a good 2 years by then, and then the ones that really worked for me for 6 months. But I had to stop taking them because the nausea was just out of this world horrendous. It was so bad, like I couldn't do anything. It was like completely debilitating. At that time, when I stopped taking them, the nausea disappeared like within about a week or so, but it gave me like chronic like gastritis issues from then onwards. So I now was like getting rid of one thing, but I've now got a whole new other thing. I now still have this problem, and I haven't been on long-term antibiotics for about like a year and a half. So actually maybe even longer. Yeah, for about a year and a half. So that route like didn't really work for me like long term, and I kept having to go back to taking them because it was like my bladder was just going insane, and I didn't have like any other option. So I feel like people have maybe like in the comments of my other video like come here for like a success story, and there isn't one, other than to say that certain things helped. So yeah, high dose long-term antibiotic basically really helped to cut into the biofilm of bugs that are in my bladder, but it just wasn't a long-term solution for me. I still haven't found that long-term solution, so like I still don't have an answer for you there. So that is the updates with my bladder condition. When it comes to the ME and the Lyme, I don't know if, so one of the antibiotics that I was taking for my bladder long term is also a well-known antibiotic to treat Lyme. And I don't know if maybe that's what was quite helpful, because my Lyme and ME symptoms did get a lot better for a period of time, but then also like returned. The biggest change in my life is that I had a little baby girl. So I now have a little daughter called Athena. She is now 8 months old. Something that if you saw my first video, you'll know that I never ever thought I'd be in a position to have kids. In fact, I think I was crying about it in that video. Actually makes me sad to like watch that back. But yes, it was something I never thought would be possible for me. And now here I am as a mummy. I have to say, and again, I like to be so transparent and honest, having a baby when you have ME, Lyme, chronic bladder condition, is difficult, like especially if you don't have help. And I live in London, just me and my partner. My parents are not near, my friends are not near, so it's really difficult day to day. The first 4 months were the worst, I think, and also because my baby had she had like severe reflux issues. The sleep deprivation, like, if you are somebody who really needs your sleep, I'm somebody who really needs my sleep, like especially for my health. I'm only just starting to feel half decent again because she started sleeping a lot better literally the past week. Aside from that, it was like she was waking every 40 minutes during the night. I was getting maybe 2 hours sleep in like one block at the most for like a good few months. Yeah, like I would say the sleep deprivation is very difficult if you have our conditions. I mean, it's very difficult anyway, but it just makes it even worse. So I don't kind of know like what the point of this video is. I think that you guys just really wanted an update on my life and like what kind of protocols that I do and stuff. And I feel like I don't really have any answers for you other than I think I just made a decision where I was like, I can waste away in this bed and like not fulfill anything that I want to in life, and be in pain and all this stuff. I was like, or I can be in pain and have all this stuff, but maybe achieve some of the things that I want in life as well. Now I feel like it's a bit of a blanket statement, and I really do hate these like success stories, or like, you know, when you see the Paralympics and they kind of paint people with disability to like be like, oh look, they push through everything, and look, this is what you can achieve too. And I hate that narrative of making people feel like they're not good enough unless they push through. And I'm the first to say that's the worst thing that you can do when you have something like ME and Lyme. However, if you're able to, so bear in mind, like I wasn't bedbound by this point. I'd managed to get myself to a place where I just wasn't anymore. And actually that was through giving myself enough time to rest and recuperate and just gradually like ease myself like into life again. So yeah, really I just kind of was like, well, I can either try and achieve what I want in life, which really I was doing like all along, but it just wasn't, it was just like bad timing, I think. And also I was a lot sicker before, so yeah. So in terms of did I do any treatments or did I take any medications for my ME and Lyme? No, but I do wonder if the antibiotics that I was on for my chronic bladder condition actually helped with the Lyme, because one of them was a cyclin. So that maybe was why I felt so much better for a brief moment in time while I was taking them, before it gave me the chronic gastritis issue. So yeah, so now I'm kind of, you know, when you have a baby, you never have a day off. Literally, you never have a day off. You can never call in sick. Even when you are sick, like you've still got to look after this little being. And it's difficult, but I wouldn't change it for the world, because I'd rather it be difficult and have my beautiful little girl who I love more than anything in this world. So I'm sorry that this video is so super short. It's basically just a rundown of like the past couple of years, but I hope that it gives you hope, like if you have any of these conditions, that just keep trying different things, keep trying different medications if they're offered, you know, keep trying like different things. I also did do some herbal stuff, so I did see a herbalist for, I think it was maybe only about 4 months actually. Yeah, I'd say it was for like about 4 months, but she was actually a Lyme specialist herbalist. And it just happened to be, again, the other way around this time, that the herbs that I was taking for the Lyme actually weirdly started helping my bladder. There was like a brief point in time, a very brief point in time, it was actually just before I got pregnant, where I came off all antibiotics for my bladder, and I was just taking herbal meds. Also, something that might be of use to you guys. So D-mannose is something that never worked for me in the past, and it's because it only works against the bug E. coli. So if you have chronic cystitis and that is not the main bug that is your problem, it won't work for you at all. But I think because I took all those antibiotics, whichever bug was the dominant one got obliterated or was lessened, and then I think the E. coli like started coming back out, because I did find, and I do now still find, that if I know I'm about to have a flare, like the early warning signs of getting a horrific cystitis attack, I hammer it with D-mannose. This is not sponsored in any way whatsoever, but I found that the brand now, their powdered version, has just worked for me more than any other. And I also take Herbal Uva Ursi, I don't know if I've said that properly. I take Nature's Way Uva Ursi. Pretty sure any brand like would be fine, but that's just the one that I found. And I find that sometimes I'll get away with not having a horrific flare by using just those two things for about 5 days. But sometimes I still need to resort to the antibiotics. It's like the only sure, fine way that I find my bladder is okay. I'll still have the flare, but it's the only thing that stops it from turning into a kidney infection and urosepsis. So that's really where I'm at. So if you guys have any questions, or you'd like me to do a more specific video, if you'd like to know more about my life, if you'd like more vlogs, I'm unsure whether I'm going to start a new channel for this, or whether I'm just going to stick it on here, but I kind of want to like maybe vlog a bit more and do more like day in the lives and stuff of like being a mum with chronic illness and a baby. Also, I have a new Instagram, so the Christina Maria is where I used to post all my makeup stuff and what this channel is mainly about, but I started a new Instagram, which is Christina Chrysanthou, and this is my more like mummy and baby page, but I talk also a lot about being a mum with chronic illnesses. I post every single day on my stories. I talk about postnatal depression and anxiety, which I had really badly. I do lots of like recommendations and stuff in my stories of things that I'm just trying. Nothing is sponsored. And yeah, I just kind of trying to build a little community there. So if you want to join me, do join me at Christina Chrysanthou. There'll be a link in the description.